Then we'll start with the first item, SB 523. This is item 7 on our agenda, and this is school bus replacement. Sir, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Mr. Senator. I know that you have had a busy day and do appreciate all of the work that the chair has put in along to his very capable committee staff, and very grateful for your thorough evaluation of this bill. According to the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, more than half of today's school buses have been in service for over a decade. And unlike many states, California does not require districts to take buses off the road after a set number of years. As a result, California has some of the oldest polluting buses in the nation. These older buses emit nearly twice as much pollution per mile as a semi-truck. In addition, buses manufactured before 1990 can produce as much as 6 times more particulate matter and nitrogen oxides. This bill will replace old school buses in small school districts, educating and transporting disadvantaged kids. A local education agency with an average daily attendance of 2,501 students or less, and 50% or more of their students are eligible for free and reduced lunch price meals, will qualify. The modest investment is $5 million from AB 32 cap and trade dollars. And it's important to point out that these dollars were funded prior to the recession by the state of California. An estimated 30% of national GHGs and 60% in California are directly attributable to transportation. Transportation is also the fastest growing source of GHG emissions in our country, accounting for 47% of the net increase in total U.S. emissions since 1990. And while small and rural school districts want to advance environmentally friendly transportation alternatives, these districts are challenged to afford school bus replacements because they have less discretionary funding. In most cases, grant opportunities are focused on suburban and urban school districts. And it is important to point out that urban and suburban school districts have a very similar program in which we're presenting here today. Moreover, their transportation costs in rural districts per student are typically higher due to the greater distance rural students are required to travel to and from school. As a result, this disproportionately impacts students who have longer commutes and who have no alternative to get to and from school. According to the Air Resources Board, all bus-related exposures to fumes were due to the time spent commuting on the school bus and not time spent at bus stops or loading or unloading kids. This exposure causes asthma, which affects 6.3 American school kids and is the most common long-term childhood disease. Newer buses are much more fuel efficient, lighter, and cleaner. In addition to the emission reductions, there's a 46% savings, or $3,000 in fuel alone each year when an old school bus is replaced, more than you ever wanted to know about school buses. To put this in perspective, if the estimated 3,500 old school buses were still on the road and they were replaced with newer, less polluting buses, Senator Leyva is going to be excited about this, $10.5 million per year could be put back into the classroom. Hey, there we go. Replacing school districts not only directly results in fuel efficiency and therefore reduce emissions, it means less cars on the road. And in the last 10 years, we've seen a dramatic reduction in bus routes. And for each bus that is taken out of the fleet and parked because districts can no longer afford them, it puts 50 cars onto our state roadways. And it is important to mention that new school buses also have improved safety features such as better seat belts and more emergency exits, making newer, cleaner buses an urgent priority. Again, Mr. Chair, thank you so much for your time. I do have Mike Rea, a California Association of School Transportation, that is here today, along with Andrew Peters, who's the Chief Business Official from the Mother Lode Union School District.
Okay, thank you, Senator. Can we have witnesses, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I'm Andrew Peters. I'm the Chief Business Official for the Mother Lode Union School District in Placerville, California. We have to use each and every dollar effectively in our small school district to achieve all of the academic and service goals for our students. My job is to oversee the business office, facilities planning, maintenance, operations, transportation functions in our district, and typically in larger school districts, that's a function of 5 individuals. So it is inherent that we use our dollars very wisely. Our district is made up of free and reduced students, foster youth students, English language learner students, and they make up a population of over 58% of our school district. Most small school districts use classroom dollars to operate, must use some classroom dollars to operate their home-to-school transportation, as they cannot afford to replace their older school buses, as they can cost upwards to $140,000, $150,000 each. SB 523 is an opportunity for us to replace our aging fleets of school buses with our oldest school buses in our district, not able to meet today's emissions standards, as noted. In our 1,080 students district, 725 students ride the school bus to get to and from school each day. Over 62% of those students qualify for free and reduced priced meal programs. There are no continuous sidewalks or bike paths in the majority of our school district, and our aging school buses are their only option for many families to get their students to school. SB 523 is an opportunity for us to provide small school districts with a means to replace those older, dirty school buses and transport our students on cleaner and safer ones.
Thank you, sir. And next witness, please.
Thank you, Senator Bell. Honorable members of the Transportation and Housing Committee, I appreciate your time and your interest in this issue. Thank you, Senator McGuire.
Thank you.
My name is Mike Ray. I'm the chairperson of the California Association of School Transportation Officials. I'm their government relations chairperson and also the co-chair of the School Transportation Coalition. 32 years ago, the state froze school transportation revenue for each school district based on their costs at that time. As you know, the population has more than doubled and demographics have changed tremendously. California school districts operate their buses 25 to 30 years on average. Old engines, old buses, and higher tailpipe emissions characterize those old buses. New technology engines are more efficient and use less fuel. Their emissions are extremely low, offering students the cleanest air in and around the buses. Newer buses in California are required to have 3-point lap shoulder belts and offer students the highest safety protections. You wouldn't put your family in a 25-year-old car now, would you? We don't want to put our school children in those old buses. Okay.
I like some of those 60s cars.
Well, that's a collector's
GTO
item. Yeah, there you
like
go.
that.
This program creates a small program that would benefit small school districts in the most disadvantaged areas of our state. And it would fund approximately 30 buses a year. So it's a very modest program, far less than the need, but it would be a superior use of cap and trade funds exceeding the criteria for their use. I urge your aye vote on SB 523. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Next witness, please.
Jim Lights on behalf of the California School Boards Association. We appreciate how Senator McGuire has mirrored the disadvantaged community element of the cap and trade program to allow some of our smaller school districts to indeed change out these buses, and we're in strong support.
Thank you. Okay, are there other witnesses in favor of this bill? Please approach the microphone. Thank you.
Lydia Bourne, representing American Academy of Pediatrics. We concur that the newer buses are more environmentally friendly and thus would reduce the fumes that some of our children are exposed to, particularly those who are asthmatic, as well as there are improved safety features. So for these reasons, we're in support of this bill.
Okay, thank you.
Cindy Hillary on behalf of the 34 rural counties in California. We are in support of this. I just wanted to specifically mention we appreciate that you do not use the Callan virus screen method to identify disadvantaged communities. 29 of our 34 rural counties do not qualify to be a disadvantaged community under Callan virus screen, so we appreciate that they will be able to use this program. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Other witnesses in favor? Can we have witnesses opposing this, please? Witnesses opposing? Yes, please come forward. Thank you. Hi, welcome.
Hi. Good afternoon, Chair, members. Amy Mago on behalf of the California Chamber of Commerce in opposition. Cal Chamber supports the cost-effective implementation of AB 32. However, the California Air Resources Board decision to arbitrarily withhold and sell allowances will raise billions of dollars from taxpayers, which runs contrary to the express goals of AB 32, which is to maximize benefits and minimize leakage risk and costs. Cal Chamber has long held CARB does not have the authority to raise revenues through the auction of allowances. And given the substantial legal uncertainty surrounding the auction, we must oppose this bill. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Other witnesses opposing? Questions for Senator McGuire from members? If not, we have a motion to approve this. Can you make a close, Senator?
It's going to be 10 seconds. This is a bipartisan bill. I'm honored that Senator Vidak is a principal co-author, along with Senator Gaines, which I'm very grateful for, and I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. Okay, please call the roll. We have a motion for it.
The motion is do pass and refer to the Committee on Rules. Senators Bell?
Aye.
Bell, I. Cannella?
Aye.
Cannella, I. Allen? Allen, I. Bates?
Aye.
Bates, I. Gaines? Galgiani? Leyva? McGuire?
Aye.
McGuire, I. Mendoza? Roth?
Aye.
Roth, I. Wachowski.
You have 6 votes, and we'll put it on call. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your
Senator,
support.
we'll go to your next bill, and I believe this is item 10 on the agenda. This is SB 593. Senator, you have the floor.
Thank you so
SB
much.
593.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair.
Can we have a little quiet in the room, please? Can we have a little quiet in the room so Senator McGuire can present his bill? Thank you very much. Senator, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'm grateful to be able to speak on this important issue. And I also want to echo the thanks, as I did in the previous bill, to the chair for his work on this as well, along to the committee staff, and very grateful for the analysis. I want to start out by saying that home sharing helps countless Californians to pay their bills and to stay in their homes in the state that they love, avoiding foreclosure, spending more time with their families, and pursuing their dreams. And home sharing gives guests the chance to experience the real California, visiting local small businesses in neighborhoods and cities they otherwise wouldn't visit. Now, I couldn't agree more with this statement, and this message may sound familiar to these committee members because it's the same message that Airbnb hosts sent to members of this committee. And I think it is appropriate to be able to start out by saying amen. When I was a member of the Sonoma County Board of Supervisors, we worked together to create a system that actually increased the number of vacation rentals in our region. And that was just 1 year ago, where we increased the number of vacation rentals in our region. And I believe that homeowners should be able to rent their home for short-term vacation rentals. And I also believe that the new sharing economy comes with many, many benefits. Unfortunately, though, there needs to be some balance. And these online vacation rental businesses are often about one-way sharing. They share all the benefits of a local community services, but they often share none of the responsibilities. And as with any growing industry, there needs to be balance. This business of home sharing has evolved from its roots of couch surfing to being a multi-billion-dollar business. And our bill is simple. All it does is make online vacation rental businesses follow local laws, just like the rest of us. No more, no less. Some background on some recent developments relating to the sharing economy. In countless media accounts across the state, there have been stories in both rural and urban areas about challenges associated with vacation rentals. Families being woken up in the middle of the night by a rowdy party of intoxicated revelers, strangers walking through the yards of neighbors at all hours of the night, or a steady stream of strangers ringing the buzzer of surrounding apartment units. In cities, major metropolitan areas, management companies have been buying up hundreds of apartments and condos in what was a traditional neighborhood and renting them out as lodging units, which leads to a significant conflict due to congested streets, lack of parking, and full-time residents having to deal with a new hotel popping up literally right across the hallway from them, not to mention the loss of affordable housing. Now, I don't want to bring a broad brush to this, These may be outliers, but there are challenges. And to top it off, in many cases, these online vacation rental businesses are in violation of local laws. When illegal rentals happen, or when legal rentals aren't paying their fair share of tourist taxes, in 431 California cities and 55 out of 58 counties have tourist tax laws on the books, it unfairly degrades the quality of life in our communities, depriving the rest of us the funds we need to be able to maintain safe neighborhoods, smooth streets, and clean parks. It also undermines local choice by allowing large, multi-billion-dollar corporations to disregard the local laws that the rest of us have to live by. Corporations can't choose the laws they want to abide by and the laws they don't. This bill is simple, and it will restore fairness to our communities. All this proposed legislation would do is make online vacation rental businesses follow local laws, many of which have been on the books for decades, that have already been adopted by your city council or your board of supervisors. That's it. No new taxes are being proposed. That is it. Enforcing local laws. Specifically, number one, if a city or county allows listings for vacation rental properties and has a tourist tax, then the bill requires the online vacation rental business to collect a tax as it's spelled out in the local law. And there are tourist tax with many of us on this committee, including Orange County, City of San Diego, County of San Diego, Merced, Los Angeles, City of Los Angeles, and Los Angeles County, among others. Currently, the way it works now is that homeowners are unfairly required to collect these tourist taxes. This is a burden, quite frankly, to local homeowners, many of whom are simply trying to pay their mortgage. And it should be the multi-billion-dollar corporation who collects the local tourist tax. And they could do it by one click of the button. Before you check out, you pay your local bed tax. And then the burden is taken off of the homeowner. The second part of this law is if a city or county has made vacation rentals illegal per their local law, it gives communities a state law that they can use to enforce the prohibition with appropriate fines. Those fines increase the longer an online business ignores the law. And in most cases, online vacation rental businesses are ignoring the local laws, many of which have been on the books for years. The biggest problem that cities and counties have across California is enforcing their laws and having people register the tourist tax, and it isn't for lack of trying. In the county of Sonoma, where I come from, for example, we've spent $200,000 over the last 2 years to enforce our law that has been on the books for over a decade, specifically trying to determine who has a vacation rental and who doesn't. And many times, the only time we know a vacation rental is in a neighborhood is when the sheriff is called. This is because homeowners either don't know that they have to pay the local tourist tax or they choose not to. I'm sure it's the latter. Sonoma County called Airbnb multiple times. We called them. And we sent a letter from our attorney. We never received a response. We were encouraging the sharing economy to thrive, but the sharing was one-sided. In San Francisco, Airbnb's hometown, only 10% of vacation rental owners are paying their bed tax, as shown, and this is from the San Francisco Planning Department as of last Friday. In San Francisco, like in Sonoma County, we shouldn't be forced to negotiate, or in the case of Malibu, use a subpoena in a 2-year court fight to have big corporations simply follow local laws. Furthermore, all this bill does is ensure that those who wish to rent their properties can do so legally, bringing their business out of the shadows, ensure that the revenue can go back into the same community that are inviting the tourists to enjoy nothing more, nothing less. Finally, Mr. Chair, I'd like to be able to address an issue that has troubled me. And it started yesterday afternoon. And I am new to this distinguished body. And I want to tell you I'm extremely disappointed. I take pride in being ethical and a person of my word. We received a letter yesterday that is claiming that this bill would disclose private consumer information. Not only is that hogwash, it's disingenuous. This information being requested via this bill is already in existing local laws, 431 cities and 55 counties throughout California. In fact, this bill, it doesn't even deal with consumers or consumer information whatsoever. Nothing. It does not require anyone to divulge the names of any other information about consumers who rent lodging through a vacation rental platform. The bill strictly addresses the appropriate reporting information. Here's what it asks for. The address, no first or last name, just the address, number of nights stayed, and total amount paid for the quarter. We don't even ask for the first and last name. This information is on the books via local law in 431 cities and 55 out of 58 counties. So, there is no invasion of privacy in SB 593. This claim is just offensive. And nowhere does this bill require any host to provide any personally identifiable information about renters to any government agency. What it does is restore local control. Mr. Chair, I appreciate you allowing me to go on a bit. I apologize about the passion. I do want to turn it over to our speakers. We have Roy Simone, policy analyst for the Los Angeles for a New Economy organization. We're grateful that he's here. We have Chief McGill of the Truckee Police Department, along with Guy Fusion, who is with the Sacramento Tax Collector's Office. He is the license manager in the county's Department of Finance. And he's going to be talking about privacy. And if we could start with Mr. Simone.
Thank you, Senator McGuire. Witnesses, please.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, I thank you for the opportunity to submit testimony today in support of SB 593. I'm Roy Simon. I'm research and policy analyst with the LA Alliance for a New Economy. I'm also the lead author on a recently released study entitled Airbnb Rising Rent and the Housing Crisis in Los Angeles. So in that study, we identified several negative impacts that short-term rental industry is likely to have, particularly on the housing market, particularly on neighborhood quality of life. So we believe that SB 593 represents a sensible approach to empowering local jurisdictions to really begin mitigating some of these negative externalities. So our study was based on rental pricing information, academic research on housing, and on data collected from Airbnb's own public-facing website. We did focus on that company because it is the largest short-term rental company in Los Angeles, and its impacts on housing and communities have been studied in other major cities, such as San Francisco and New York City. Those analyses, based on the same publicly facing data, mirrored our own conclusions. So here's what we found. First, reducing the availability of housing stock is the primary cost that Airbnb imposes on cities and neighborhoods, particularly in areas with the highest concentrations of listings. In Los Angeles, New York, and San Francisco, the majority of listings are entire units, whole apartments or homes, not spare bedrooms or air mattresses. In Los Angeles, that is 64% of the 11,401 listings in the LA area are entire homes or apartments. Moreover, just 9 neighborhoods in the city of Los Angeles account for about 3/4 of the company's revenues in the city. These are important tourist-serving districts. These are areas where the city has invested a great deal in tourist-serving infrastructure over the years. So the average vacancy rate in those key neighborhoods is about 3.5% for the rental market. Rents are already 20% higher in those neighborhoods than in the rest of the city. We find that when you shift whole units from the rental market to the tourist market, you put Los Angeles residents at a disadvantage. Renters cannot outbid tourists for housing. For a tourist, $90 a night might seem like a reasonable expense. That is a $2,700 per month rent, which for most Angelenos would be far out of reach. I also wanted to emphasize how this company actually generates revenue. We found that single lessors with whole units and leasing companies, that is, those companies with 2 or more entire units, generated about 90% of the revenue in the city of Los Angeles. Airbnb did take steps to remove some of these large-scale commercial operations from their site. The largest that we found was a company that rented 80 units through this site. However, many of those companies do maintain parallel sites which are still in operation, so the negative impacts continue, and the need for the ability for cities to really tackle this is certainly not mitigated by just shifting the problem around from one site to another. I wanted to finally zero in on the issue that the senator touched on, which is the inability of cities to, as currently, to regulate what's happening here. Airbnb and other short-term rental companies have not complied with existing regulations, In the city of Los Angeles, these short-term rentals are illegal according to the zoning code in residential neighborhoods. Portland and San Francisco have passed so-called Airbnb laws. As we can see, very few hosts have actually complied with those very basic health and safety regulations and permitting requirements. Without transparency and information, cities and neighborhoods can't really will be at a disadvantage in terms of enforcement. SB 593 provides a very critical tool to leveling the information imbalance between cities and short-term rental companies, and I would urge the committee to move this bill forward. Thank you very much.
We'll take just the two speakers, and then other speakers may be a little shorter, please. That way we can get through the long line I see in the back here. Okay, yes, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Adam McGill with the Truckee Police Department on here on behalf of the California Police Chiefs Association. Truckee, we have 16,000 permanent residents that call Truckee home, but it's not uncommon for that population to double or triple on multiple and often weeks of the year. About 12,000 housing units, and 50% of those are second homes and frequently rented out for various types of what we're talking about today. In our tourism tax program, of the homes that we know of, only about 30% have actually registered and cooperate. So 70% are not contributing and paying for the amount of city services that they consume. And as we've heard from the previous speaker and the senator, these types of locations do frequently call on public safety, and prevents a response problem for us, and we can't contact the owners. There's no information. They're not registered with the city. We don't even know the homes exist until we are there on some sort of problem. Although these renters do contribute through sales tax, it's not sufficient to provide for the services that they too consume while they're in the city. And on our roadways, the public safety services and other services that they tend to encounter. Additionally, particularly in my jurisdiction and many others, I'm sure, where half of my city is empty often, it's very difficult to account for public safety staffing and how many we need on any particular day or on a full-time basis because of our population fluxes. And with if everyone was following the law, which we do have laws on the books, we would be able to account for what likely the populations are going to be and be able to staff accordingly for that. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Other speakers, please.
Okay, yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Senators. My name is Guy Fusen. I'm a tax and license manager with the County of Sacramento's Department of Finance. I've worked with hotel taxes, with transient occupancy tax for over 20 years now. Transient occupancy tax, the hotel tax, is a general fund tax. It's one of the few 100% local revenue sources that we have that we don't have to share with other jurisdictions. The money goes to fund law enforcement, it goes to fund emergency services. We use a lot of the money for local parks and art and other community services that encourage tourism to our area. And what we ask for from every short-term rental, whether it's the Sheraton Hotel or the local mom and pop Motel 6, is the address of the rental, the number of room nights they rented, and the amount of money they've collected. And from that we calculate and they pay a transient occupancy tax. This is what we require from all short-term rentals, and this is exactly what this bill requires. We don't collect personal information on who's been renting which hotel room. We have no business need for that, and this bill does not require it either. Okay. So thank you if you have any questions.
Thank you. Other speakers, please.
John Lovell on behalf of the California Association of Code Enforcement Officers, California College and University Police Chiefs, Association for LA Deputy Sheriffs, LA Police Protective League, Riverside Sheriff's Association, and the California Narcotic Officers Association, all in support.
Thank you. Speakers in favor, please.
Good Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Karen Lang on behalf of the California Association of County Treasurers and Tax Collectors. There's a great disparity between and among the tax collectors as to how they're interacting with these online hosting platforms. We don't think it should be a beauty contest, and the laws of all 58 counties should apply to everyone. We urge your aye vote today. Thank you.
Other speakers, be brief in support,
Good afternoon.
please.
Dorothy Holzen with the California State Association of Counties, proud to be in support. Thank you.
John Caldwell on behalf of the California Hotel and Lodging Association. Just to put what the author said, SB 593 does not require the release of sensitive personal information as the opponents allege. The information to be reported is the same information that every lodging establishment in the state provides to local governments today when they pay their TOT. In fact, many short-term rental hosts who comply with the local ordinances and pay the legally required TOT provide the exact same information on a monthly basis.
Cindy Hillary on behalf of the 34 rural counties in support. Thank you.
Barry Broad, California Teamsters Public Affairs Council, in support.
Jack Ribbon representing Unite Here, the Hotel Workers Union, 300,000 members. We support this bill. Thank you.
Megan Brightwell on behalf of the California Professional Firefighters in support.
Mr. Chair and members, Caitlin Vega for the California Labor Federation, also here in support.
Sean Topakian with the California Apartment Association, in support.
Chris Rack, President of Unite Here Local 49, Hotel Workers Union in Sacramento, in support.
Unite Here Local 49, here in Sacramento, we support.
My name is Jesus Vasquez. I work for the Citizen Hotel. I support the bill.
Sally Reyes, I support the bill.
Eric Barha, Local 856 in Hilton Union Square, I support.
Marta Mendoza, organizer de Local 49, support the bill.
Roxana Tapia, organizer, Unite Here Local 49, and I support the bill.
Okay, thank you. At this time, if there's no other supporters, we'd like to call persons that oppose the bill. Please come forward, and can we have two main spokespersons, please? Thank you. So let's hear the other side, the opposition. Welcome. Please come forward. Okay.
Good afternoon, Senators. David Owen, Regional Head of Public Policy with Airbnb. Appreciate the opportunity to be here today. Very briefly, I know this is going to be a long afternoon, it has been already for some of you. Airbnb is an internet platform that connects hosts and guests around the world with unique local accommodations. We were founded in San Francisco in 2008. And now, just 7 years later, we have hosts with over 1 million listings in roughly 34,000 cities in over 190 countries around the world. Tens of millions of people, including hundreds of thousands of Californians, have used Airbnb as an affordable travel option or as a host to make ends meet, to stay in their homes, or to pursue their dreams. We recently studied the economic impact of hosting, of home sharing in two major California cities. In San Francisco, our community contributed nearly $470 million to the economy just last year. In Los Angeles, the typical Airbnb host earns roughly $660 a month, and more than 70% say that income has helped them stay in their homes. 2/3 of our Los Angeles hosts are non-traditionally employed, many working as freelancers or in the creative industry. This bill, SB 593, is a blunt instrument aimed at addressing very specific and complex local regulatory concerns. And it raises several significant concerns for our company, and as you can see from many folks here, from our community as well. First, by requiring third-party companies like ours to ensure that each listing, more than 1 million around the world in tens of thousands of cities, is in compliance, in complete compliance with every aspect of a planning or zoning code or other local laws that might be applicable. This bill seeks to offload the burden of enforcement entirely onto a private company, a third party like us. And we are frankly ill-equipped at scale to accomplish that task in tens of thousands of cities around the world. Platforms like ours are a resource for hosts to earn extra income income by utilizing their greatest asset, their homes, or in the mid-2000s, their greatest liability for many people during the Great Recessions. Requiring platforms to take on this law enforcement role or face significant, perhaps crippling fines creates insurmountable obstacles to this emerging industry, and for a variety of platforms, as you can see from other folks here at the table, and you will hear from them. Technology moves fast, and government is constantly struggling to keep up, but requiring a global internet platform with hosts in tens of thousands of cities to understand and enforce planning and zoning laws is simply not the right solution for this new economy. Second, SB 593 would require internet platforms to hand over private data about hosts, and to be clear, there is a distinction. As many folks you just heard from testified talked about the rules that apply to hotels or to accommodations operators. There is a distinct difference between, say, our hosts, who are the offerers of accommodations, and third-party platforms like ours who advertise or help assist connecting guests and hosts in our context, or other users in the context of platforms like Craigslist or others. And that is a critical distinction when we're talking about laws that compel websites and internet platforms to give data to government. And I think you're going to hear that concern from other folks here at the table today. Third, this bill attempts, or appears to attempt, to give local governments the right to compel websites or internet platforms to collect and remit the transient occupancy tax. To be clear, every local jurisdiction in the state of California currently has that authority to collect or to compel various parties to collect a tax. This is a complex issue, and as the senator noted, there are 431 cities and 55 of the 58 counties in the state of California that have transient occupancy tax ordinances on the books. And almost uniformly, those laws do not apply to websites like us, to internet platforms that are third parties. So hosts are obligated, and you can see in a number of cities we've begun collecting and remitting on behalf of our community. We recognize the importance of these taxes to local governments around the state, and indeed around the country and around the world. But as the only company that has stepped forward in this marketplace, and there are many, as the only company who has done so, it is important as we're thinking about these laws to understand how they can be applied fairly and evenly across an industry when they cannot at this point, without, in most cities and counties around the state, without going back to the voters in order to get authorization to extend the tax directly to companies like ours, how we can ensure that all those in the industry are equally addressed and assessed by this issue. I appreciate your time here today, and I look forward to any questions. As the bill is written, it is a blunt instrument which is intended to stunt the growth of an incredibly valuable industry to so many people in this room that you're going to hear from around the state of California. I appreciate your time today. Thank you so much.